Hello, Golden Valley High School. Thank you for checking in today. I'd like to thank those of you who've been liking Mr. Sargent's ties. This is one of my favorite springtime ties, so hopefully it gets some likes as well. At the end of this video, there will be a Google form I would like you to complete, and that Google form will be due at the end of the week. Today we talk about something that's called absolute value, and you can tell an absolute value by these two lines that are written on both sides of the value. And you'll find that an absolute value is always a positive number. So the absolute value of -3 is always +3. The absolute value of 7, now you find that some students change it to a negative, but we don't change it, we just make it always positive. So the absolute value of +7 is also +7. Nothing to change. The absolute value of +4 remains +4. And here the absolute value of -10 becomes +10. So we will see today that our absolute values should always be changed to a positive number. So let's take a look at how we can solve some absolute value formulas. We're going to start by evaluating at what we call f of 3. Now all this means is that we're going to see an x value, and we're just going to use substitution to replace that x with a 3. For example, f of x is equal to the absolute value of x minus 4 plus 6. Now, as I mentioned previously, we're not doing anything fancy with the f of x. We are just being told to substitute for x. We're going to write in a 3. So as I rewrite this equation, I'm not going to use an x. Instead of x, we are simply going to use 3. From here, we're going to use our skills and PEMDAS to simplify for f of 3. Now, some students often wonder, where do the absolute values fit into PEMDAS? Well, notice that I have PEMDAS up on the board here. The absolute values are treated the same way that we treat parentheses. So this means that the first thing we're going to do is simplify everything inside of the absolute values. Now you find that some students make the mistake of changing this -4 to a +4, but that's not how we follow PEMDAS. The first thing we're going to do is simplify everything inside of the absolute values first. So as we simplify 3 minus 4, 3 minus 4 has a difference of -1. Now that we've simplified inside of the absolute values, we can change our -1 to a +1. And 1 plus 6 has a sum, whoa, that's terrible. 1 plus 6 has a sum of 7. So our final answer, 7. Today on your Google form, you would just enter into the problem 7. Let's try another example. This next example is going to say 9 minus x minus 10. As previously stated, for x, we're going to replace it with a 3. So I'm going to write 9 minus 3. Absolute value, minus 10. So according to PEMDAS, we're going to start with our absolute values first. So 9 minus 3 is the absolute value of 6 minus 10. Now nothing here to change because the absolute value of 6 is +6. And then we are left with 6 minus 10, which is an answer of -4. So on today's form, you would enter -4. Also, be careful when you're reading today's assignment because we are not given f of 3 every time. The directions will indicate what number you are putting in place of x, so please read the directions on each problem. Now our last example today is going to start with a coefficient of 5 times the absolute value of x minus 9 plus 2. Now we often find students who aren't sure what to do in this case, so I always direct them back to PEMDAS. According to PEMDAS, we're going to start with the parentheses, or in this case, the absolute values. So let's rewrite this. In place of x, 3 minus 9 plus 2. And as previously stated, we will simplify the parentheses first. 3 minus 9 has a difference of negative 6. Now we have simplified everything inside of the absolute value, so now it's time to use the absolute value. 5 times the absolute value of negative 6, the absolute value of negative 6 is positive 6. Now again, according to PEMDAS, we move down and we're going to use our multiplication. 5 times 6 is 30 plus 2. And we move down to addition. 30 plus 2 is 32. So our final answer is 32. Thank you again for checking in. The Google form that you complete is due at the end of the week, I believe on Friday. And there should be another form coming out on Wednesday. We'll see you later, Golden Valley.